Eli Manning, Daniel Jones. Eli Manning, Daniel Jones. Who is it going to be? Welcome aboard, folks. Michael Cohen here on the Sports Talk Nation. We are just 1 week away. 1 week away from all the teams in the National Football League kicking off. Our first Sunday of the NFL season is just 7 days away. It's hard to believe, but we have finally made it to the start of the 2019 NFL season. Now, before we get into picking how we think this season is going to go, we're going to do separate videos on the Jets and the Giants and going through their schedules, win and loss. Before we do all that, let's talk a little bit about the Giants preseason. We haven't had a chance to talk too much about the Giants so far this summer, and we really need to talk about them. We talked a lot about the Jets. We went to training camp a couple of times in Florham Park. We broke down the Jets-Saints preseason game. Giants have kind of ended up on the back burner. I understand that this has been a season where a lot of people coming in, certainly several coming into the season have had very low expectations for the Giants, but they had a very fascinating summer. And a lot of that is because of the first-round draft pick, Daniel Jones, quarterback out of Duke. Now, when the Giants picked this guy, and we all know what happened, back in April, everyone thought it was a terrible pick. Everyone bashed the Giants for it. Everyone thought that they had lost their minds, that they should have gone out and drafted Josh Allen, the defensive end out of Kentucky, who went to the Jaguars. A lot of people did not like what the Giants did. And a lot of people made fun of the Giants for what they did. And as this summer has progressed, all of a sudden David Gettleman's starting to look pretty good, and Pat Shurmur looking pretty good for making that selection to get Daniel Jones. Now, the numbers are impressive. 29 out of 34, 85% of his passes complete, 416 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Now, he has looked good. He's been very accurate. He was pushing the ball down the field, which was a big problem with Eli Manning over the last couple of years. And I even was reminded about that watching the networks, the NFL networks, the other day, and they were talking about what has been the big problem with Eli over the last few years. And one of the major complaints that former Giant Odell Beckham had was Eli can't push the ball down the field as well as he used to. So obviously Jones has a lot of talent. He has the arm strength. He has the capability of being that guy for this Giants football team. But I always, when it comes to preseason, I say, let's just pump the brakes a little bit. I always hear this term, Mr. Preseason. I'm not saying that Daniel Jones cannot become a great quarterback, that he won't be a good quarterback in this league. I'm just saying it is preseason, so he is going up against second and third string defenders a lot of the time. He did play with the Giants' first string offense for much of the preseason, so they could get acclimated to the offensive line. I totally understand that, and that's a good job by Pat Shurmur. But again, it is preseason. We really don't know what we're going to find out from Daniel Jones until he gets thrown into the real fire in the regular season. And that leads to the big question: when is it going to happen? And Eli Manning didn't play a whole heck of a lot in preseason. The consensus was that he looked good, that he has a little more zip on the ball this summer than he has in the last couple of summers. And even though he's 38 years old, he feels that he can still go out there and keep this team competitive. And he's going to have to do that throughout the course of this season in order to keep that job. And that's going to be the big question. And it's going to happen. The Giants are not a perfect team. You look up and down this Giant roster, and yes, there is some talent. Obviously, you have the Rookie of the Year last year, Saquon Barkley, who in my mind could be an MVP candidate going into this year, one of the best running backs in football. Sterling Shepard coming off of an injury. You have Evan Ingram at tight end, so there is talent on this team. You have a veteran offensive line, which the Giants have done a nice job trying to rebuild over the last 2 seasons. So there's pieces, there's talent here for this Giant team. Is this a Giant team that's going to be very, very good? I have no idea. Well, I really don't have a good feeling on that. And again, we'll go more into that in depth in the win-loss prediction of what the Giants are going to do this year. But the talent around the Giants, not that great. And the question is going to be, if this team loses a couple of games, if they win 3 in a row, if they start off 2-5 or 1-5 like they did last year, 1-7, is that going to be the time for Pat Shurmur to make that decision to go to Daniel Jones? That's going to be the big, big question that the Giants are going to have to face throughout the course of this season. Just as well as anybody, and we all know that whenever the Giants are going to lose a game, you're going to hear about Daniel Jones. The Giants play the Cowboys week 1. You know the first thing that's going to happen. If the Giants lose that game next week, hey, let's start Daniel Jones. Maybe it's time to give Daniel Jones a chance, especially if Eli throws an interception. People are going to go crazy trying to get rid of Eli Manning. And look, I understand that Eli's had I kind of feel two different ways on this regarding Eli Manning, because he's had a very solid career in New York with the Giants, winning 2 Super Bowls. You want to say some of those 2 wins were somewhat miracles, obviously, because of the helmet catch and the catch by Mario Manningham down the sideline in the 2nd Super Bowl against the Patriots. I understand that, but still, went out there, won those 2 Super Bowls, won a lot of playoff games for the Giants, but this team hasn't been relevant for about almost 6, 7, 8 years. They haven't been to a playoff. They haven't won a playoff game in 8 years. And the one playoff game they were at most recently a couple of years ago with Ben McAdoo as head coach, they imploded in Green Bay. So eventually the time has to come where you have to say it's time to move on. Yes, Eli Manning's had a great career. Yes, he'll probably have the Giants will probably retire his number at some point. He'll probably end up in the Giants Hall. He'll end up in the Giants Hall of Fame, NFL Hall of Fame. We'll see about that. No question about the kind of career he's had, and you'd like to see him have at least one more run. Maybe get the Giants into the playoffs this year would be a miracle in itself. Maybe compete for a wild card before saying goodbye and moving on. But if the team struggles this year, the Giants are going to have to make that decision, and it's going to be a tough one that Pat Shurmur is going to have to make. And you know what? A lot of people say that Pat Shurmur and the Giants would like to go with Daniel Jones to start this season. And you can certainly understand that. You got a coach who has never had a winning season in all his few years as a head coach, both in Cleveland and with the Giants. Never had his own quarterback, if you will. So this would be his chance to do that. I mean, if he goes, 5-11 with Eli Manning as the quarterback, he'll be gone. And if he has a chance to bring in the young quarterback, he could delay the inevitable, which would be the firing squad of the NFL, as we all know that would be coming. So much is going to play a part of this Giants season. Yes, they went 4-0 in the preseason. You take it with a grain of salt for what it is. A lot of guys had some good preseasons. A lot of guys stepped up. You have to like what you saw out of Alonzo Russell, who caught the game-winning touchdown pass against New England last week in the last preseason game. He's going to be part of this receiving core. Maybe he can be a guy who could be a bit of a surprise, add some depth to the wide receiving core, which is in need of some help, especially with Golden Tate now suspended for the first 4 games of the season. So we'll see. It's going to be a work in progress for the Giants. Their defense leaves a lot to be desired. Their offense is going to be a big question mark, but they have talent. And of course, the biggest issue of all is the quarterback, Eli or Daniel Jones. And that is going to be the debate for the entire 2019 season. You know it, I know it, we all know it. And it will be interesting to see how this thing plays out for Big Blue. Remember, folks, to follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/OpenMicProgram, and also on Twitter @OpenMicNJ. And remember to like and subscribe right here to the Sports Talk Nation. We'll talk to you next time.